everybody. I am Erica.
And I'm Caitlyn.
And we are here to welcome you to episode 5 of Let's Go Sew, Sewing for Beginners. Today's the day you become sewist. We are excited for you, and we're going to thread our machine and start stitching. So Caitlyn, in our last episode you went over all the machine basics and wound a bobbin. So before we start, what's our first step?
We're going to thread our machine.
Okay.
So on our machine, if you haven't already kept it in there from when you wound your bobbin, you're going to want to put your top thread in.
Okay.
You're going to, like your bobbin, follow the directions to threading your machine.
Okay.
So our machine says we first go through here, and then we go through this over here and around the bottom. And then when we get up here, we're gonna have this take-up lever.
Yes.
And the most important thing about the take-up lever is that you click the thread in place. If it's not in there,
it's not gonna work.
Exactly, or it creates knots and not what you want.
It's not what you want.
And then we're gonna come back down here, and there's always a little hook or something to hold the thread in place with the line, or with the needle. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you're going to want to thread the needle, which is just as easy as to just put it through the needle hole. There are machines that have threaders that can help you out, and you would just want to make sure you consult your manual on how to use that.
Right. And really, this process is important, and you need to get it right. You may want to check with your machine manual, like you said, and make sure that you've got it and test it. But I bet that's what our next step is.
Well, before we test it, we want to make sure that the thread goes through the pressure foot and to the back. So there's a little notch on your pressure foot, or in the center or on the side, that you want to get it through so that when your fabric goes through the machine, the thread doesn't get stuck.
Right.
So that is it for threading your top thread.
Okay.
Now we're going to thread our bobbin.
Okay.
So this is the bobbin case. There is top loading and side loading. So if you're using an older machine, you might have to side load your bobbin.
Right.
And definitely consult your manual on the side, because we are going to go over the top loading bobbin. So there's usually a case on top, and you can press the button or clip it, whatever one your machine has, and you take the top cover off.
Right.
And then you want to have your bobbin so that the thread is coming off this way. So this would be to your right. And you will want to just slide that in at the top there. And then you're going to want to hold your bobbin so that it doesn't just keep coming unraveled. The most important part is there's a little metal notch here, also arrows here. So you want to thread it in, and then you'll come up and around like how your machine says, and then around this way. And then as you can see, it snips it off. And then you'll put the case back on. So it is loaded, and then there's some machines that will require you to connect these two threads right away. So what you would do is you would take your the end of this one, the top thread, and you would hold it. And then you would take your hand wheel and you go one full rotation. As soon as it makes the full stitch, you can feel that you can pull the top thread. And then there's the little end of the bobbin thread here.
It's going to create a little loop, right?
Mm-hmm. And you can take a tool like a stylus or something and just pull that thread out so that it's doesn't go back down in when you put fabric in.
Okay, so now we've gone through all the machine basics. We want to take a minute. We're going to stop and let you get your sewing machine ready to go. All right, we have got our machine all set up. Hopefully you've got your machine all set up and ready to go. So let's try stitching, right, Caitlyn?
Yes. So for now, for practicing, we're going to just take a scrap piece of fabric, just a single piece, no layers.
Okay.
And we're not going to try a seam right now, but we're going to just see how the fabric is feeded through our machine.
Okay.
So we're going to put our fabric underneath the pressure foot, and then we're going to lower the pressure foot because as we mentioned before, if there's no pressure foot down, it doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
Because there's actually other like teeth on the bottom that
Right.
help grip and take your fabric.
Exactly.
So then we're going to take our foot pedal and we're going to slowly press down and we're going to go. So what you're going to be looking for, because as you can see, if you just push it without your hands on it, it does go through.
Yes.
What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that it stays on track.
Okay.
So if we see that the fabric's going this way, we're going to want to slightly shift it the other way.
Okay.
If we're going to see the fabric going the other way, we shift it the other way. So
But mostly we're just getting a feel for the
yes,
things.
yes. So I suggest to just practice and see how it goes. Like, so as you can see, if I put one hand on, it might go towards the one side. If you
Right.
put the other hand on, it goes towards the other side.
And you don't want to pull on it, really.
No,
You want
so-
to just guide it.
Yeah,
Let the
'cause
machine do the work.
That's what the teeth in the foot are for, is to
Perfect.
guide it through. So if we want to try a different one,
This machine, and almost every sewing machine, has some sort of a little cutter, thread cutter on the side. And this is really useful. It means that you don't have to stop, grab a pair of scissors to snip it off.
correct. All right, so then when you want to do a nice straight line, you're going to want to have the same amount of pressure about on both sides of the fabric.
Okay.
And kind of just glide it through. Don't shove it through like this, or don't hold it back. You just let it, make sure it stays straight.
Right.
So, and as you can see here, I didn't get my threads behind the...
That's what happens when you don't have your thread behind, right?
Yes.
It's not a big deal. It just could panic you if it's your first time.
And as I want to mention again, you know, the foot pedal is like a car, so if you hit it faster, it goes faster. If you hit it slower, it goes slower.
And I think every beginning sewist I've ever worked with, it's hard. You have to get the feel of it, just like you get the feel of the gas pedal in different cars. So just give yourself a little grace there. It's okay.
Yes. So that's why I say right now, try on as many scrap fabrics as you can. Make sure you can get a straight line. Or even if you want to draw on your fabric to practice a straight line, that's always good too.
Oh, that's a great suggestion. Okay, so go ahead, take as much time as you need to practice. We are going to be doing an actual seam in the second part of this episode. So when you're done practicing, cut 2.5-inch by 5-inch strips of different color fabrics to sew together. We're going to take a break and let you get ready. All right, we're back. We've got our fabric ready, but now that we're going to start sewing a seam, putting two pieces together, we need to make that 1/4-inch seam allowance. We need to figure out how to do that with our machine. So walk us through setting up our 1/4-inch seam allowance,
Yes.
Caitlyn.
So like we mentioned before, there is feet that have the guide, but we're using one that doesn't have a guide today.
Okay.
So we're going to use the edge of our pressure foot as a guide to keep it nice and straight.
Okay.
But we also have to make sure that the distance between the needle and the edge of the pressure foot is the 1/4-inch seam allowance.
Okay, that's important because your setting, your automatic on your machine may be with that foot 3/8 of an inch, which doesn't seem like it's very different, but it is. If you do different seam allowances with your quilt, you're going to notice in a big hurry. So show us how to set this up manually, Caitlyn.
So the easiest way I found is taking a ruler,
Okay.
and you put it under your pressure foot so the edge is to the right of your pressure foot and align with the pressure foot.
Okay.
And that's always because your seams will be on the right side.
Right, that's how your fabric's going to
Yep,
go through.
and the bulk of your project will be on the left side.
Okay.
So we're going to put this down and put the pressure foot down so it holds the ruler. And then we're going to take the hand wheel and we're going to put the needle close to the ruler but not touching it.
Okay.
And we're going to check on what our seam allowance is right now. It looks like we're kind of around 3/8, which is not
Okay.
what we want to do. So there is a needle position on your machine, and it can either be a button or a dial. Some of the older machines that have dials as setting your stitches, you usually do the width of the
Okay.
needle to set that. You're gonna wanna just hit that needle position until you get to about well, over the 1/4 inch line of your ruler. Some machines, when you turn them off, they recenter. So you always want to make sure that you note that your needle position, so that the next time you don't have to redo the
You don't have to go
ruler.
through that. So
Yeah.
we're at 6.5 on
Correct.
ours. So we'll just make note of that, write it on a sticky note and stick it on your machine. It'll make it easy.
Yes. And then we're gonna, lift up our pressure foot, take out our ruler.
Okay?
And then because we don't want to roll backwards with our hand wheel, we're just gonna do a hole forward to do a complete stitch.
Now we're gonna sew a 1/4 inch seam, right?
Correct. I have 2 pieces here. So now we're going to put this under our pressure foot here.
Okay?
And we're going to lower it just a bit so that we can make sure we can align the edge of our fabric with the pressure foot, because that's
Right.
where we set our 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then we're also going to want to make sure that the needle starts just about on the fabric, or just on the fabric, so it's not off of it.
Okay.
And we're going to set that in place. And then we're going to do a couple stitches forward, and then we're going to hit the reverse, and then we're going to do a couple stitches back. And that's just going to hold our our seam in place so it doesn't unravel.
Right.
So we're going to continue on. And then I like to, before the needle goes, or the pin goes under the pressure foot,
Right.
you just slowly take that out and put it to the side. And then you can continue on, and making sure that your edge stays along this edge so that you have an even 1/4 inch.
Okay.
So if we just continue on. And then again, by that pin, we just stop a little bit beforehand, and we're going to finish out our seam. And then before we get off, or we don't go off the material, but when we get close to the edge, we're going to want to do another back stitch.
Right.
So that we can set that seam on that side as well. So just do a couple back and then a couple forward. And then make sure your needle is up out of your fabric. You lift your pressure foot, and then you can either snip this with the scissors, or like we said before, we can
Right.
do it on our thread cutter.
And while it doesn't really matter when you're practicing, it's just a best practice to get into with reversing those seams, because there's nothing worse than having to go back and re-sew something because you forgot and it started to unravel on
And
you.
some newer model machines have a fix button. If they have one of those, you can do that instead of a back stitch, but it is good practice to do
It
both.
is. It is. All right, so now we've got that. So now we want to go ahead and check that 1/4 inch seam allowance, right?
Yes. So we're going to bring back our ruler, and we're going to just put that ruler on the edge of our fabric and check that our seam is right on that 1/4 inch.
That's right, and it's important to do it the way Caitlyn's doing it, because if you hold it up in front of you, you're not going to get a true measurement. You need to do it, lay it down in front of you, lay that clear ruler on top of it, and you're going to want that good 1/4 inch.
Yes.
All right, so what's next is going to be pressing those seams. All right, so you're going to show everybody pressing, not ironing,
Yes.
and we're going to start with setting our seam.
Yes. So as we have here, our fabric is right sides together, and we're going to keep that for setting our seams. So we're going to put that down, and we're going to just give it a little press on one side, and we're going to give it a little press on the other side.
Perfect.
All right, and then after they're set, which is just gives it a little, relaxation in the fabric. So we're going to open it up, and we're going to go to the back side, and you can either press your seams open or to one side. Because we have a darker fabric, which is generally what the side of the fabric that you press on, is you press towards the dark side.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do today. We're going to press towards the dark side. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take that, and we're going to make sure that the seam is towards the dark side, and we're just going to give it a little press on this side so it's nice and flat, and then we're going to take it to the front side, and we're going to do the same thing. And pressing is important in our project, no matter if you're a beginner or an expert, because it
Right.
creates these nice crisp lines, and then it would be easier to line up seams if you need to.
All right, feel free to take as much time as you want to practice feeding your fabric through the machine, getting your seams nice and even, getting that good 1/4 inch seam allowance. And in our next episode, we're going to be making our project.
Happy sewing.